Take this fucking cape off, it's really annoying. Costume is the most irritating thing to put on, I swear to God. Never making a Luba cosplay, folks. If you've not been living under a rock the last few days, you'll be aware that they just released a new points update for Genesys format. One that you'll probably have seen I was pretty opinionated about. This listed a number of things that can be said to be good and a few things said to be bad, and I want to focus on the bad right now. So the main critiques of this point list are unrelated to the topic of this video at hand, so I'll just kind of gloss over them, though they are important, which is the non-hit to Radiant, which seems to just be a blatantly overpowered deck now on its own, and the reduction in cost of specifically Nibiru, Ghost Ogre, and Ghost Mourner, which after a few days seems pretty much everyone has settled on you have to play these now, that the hand trap lineup in Genesys that was a lot more interesting before is just kind of the same things you run in Advance, which is a shame. But the big thing for me, of course, that I'll be addressing in today's, I guess, Halloween video, is the branded hits. Now, the Genesys team did warn us in advance that they were going to be hitting the Fallen and the Virtuous, which is, yes, a very powerful generic card, and I could see them hitting something like Albion the Branded Dragon alongside it, because it is also a very strong card. You can go Fallen, pop anything in any deck, send Albion, then in the end phase you can set another copy of the Fallen Virtuous, and you just have 2 pops on 1 card, which is very strong. Don't get me wrong, that's very strong. But what didn't make sense was, in addition to the, let's be honest, already very harsh hit of 15 points, they then hit everything that you could possibly send off it that was relevant generically, so 15 points is already very expensive. You know, the Forbidden Droplet is 10, Nibiru is now 5, Ultimate Slayer is 0, and you're telling me that in order to run this brand new, interesting staple that probably only would have seen generic play in this format and never in Advanced, is now 15 points just for 1 copy of the spell, and if I want to run Titaniclad to maybe search out a Quem or an Albaz or something, or a Dogmatica card in Dogmatica, that's going to cost me another 10 points. If I want to send Albion, that costs me 20 more points. If I want to send Sprind in Springuns, which was a deck some people were trying to build, you got to spend 10 points, so that deck's just randomly more expensive now. Frigrand even, just to search Mercuria, that's another 10 points. And of course, the new dragon, which I expected to get pointed, Dogma Devouring Dragon, is now at 10 points as well, but that's independently, it's just its own power card. And then on top of this, we also hit Mercuria, Granguinol, and Masquerade, and Branded Fusion. So, I know some people have said, well, Mirror Jade and Lubellion are a lot cheaper now. Surely you can make something work there, and the problem is, the fundamental design of a branded extra deck is that it contains all these different Albaz dragons. You need Sands for Mirror Jade, you need Sands for High Spirits, you need, you know, if you're playing some kind of dogmatic build, which you probably wouldn't be in Genesis, but, you know, historically, people have played Nadir Servant, which would send Albaz dragons. You need things to make off of Red or Cartesia, because Guardian Chimera is at 33 points, you can't play it. You run out of steam really quickly now, and you have a lot less options to send or search. And then the Albion itself, your main fusion target, because I was honestly not playing Rebellion at 33 at all, your main branded fusion target and follow-up piece and something you'd really want to send is 20 points, so you can basically only play 1. In this video I do have some lists to look at. I have some branded deck lists that I've been cooking to see if the deck is really dead. But I just want to talk about, my issue with the philosophy of these hits, that I don't understand. If they don't want you to resolve Branded Fusion, they upped Branded Fusion, right? If they don't want me to resolve Branded Fusion for Mirror Jade and send a bunch of names, and they don't want me to resolve Fallen the Virtuous to get a bunch of follow-up, fine. If you think that Branded as an engine is too strong for this format, which I do not agree, by the way, Radiant Typhoon can draw 10 cards in the same turn right now, and it's completely fine for it to do that. They can go double Pot of Greed, Fountain, draw 3. These kind of power plays are legal. Branded Fusion is not broken even by the standards of Genesys format, in my opinion. But if we suppose that it is, if we suppose that the problem with Branded is Branded Fusion, the 40 cost card, one of the most expensive engine pieces in the format pretty much, if we suppose that's the problem, you're not meant to be playing it, why didn't you just put Branded Fusion to 100? And then, don't point anything else. Don't point Gwenol. Do not point Titaniclad, or Albion, or Sprint, or Brigand, or Cartesia, or Quem. These cards are not broken, they're completely fair. Go fine, Cartesia maybe can stay pointed because she's strong generically as a fusion extender. But just all these tiny hits to the deck, while reducing 2 of the cards. And on the whole, the points of Branded didn't increase that much in the necessary cards, but it's just, it makes the deck feel bad to play. That's what these changes do. They don't... It makes it very difficult to deck build and strategize and think about changes, because you're just looking at the deck building and going, I've put in my basic minimal amounts to resolve a Branded Fusion, and I can't put anything else in. I'm out of points. Even all these lists I'm showing today basically have no staples in them, because you can't fit them in. Even lists I've got today, I've got lists not playing Branded Fusion. There's still no place for staples, because guess what? You have to fit in that 1 copy of Fallen and the Virtuous, which is costing you 15 points by itself, and the reason you're not playing the Branded Fusion is to put in the other Branded Dragon names, so you've got to spend 10 points on each of those. It takes away from the thing that I found interesting about Genesys format, which is experimentation with new deck lists. I'm not being told by this points change, you need to play Branded in a different way and a different kind of strategy to try and get to these powerful bosses. I'm being told, you're not meant to play this deck. Because it does, the deck feels bad to play, and I'm trying out build, I'm trying to make it feel better, but a lot of hands now, you just kind of get hand trapped. And I'm seeing this opinion spread out of people that are saying the deck is still playable, are still saying, yeah, we fold to 1 hand trap now, because guess what? Nibs at 5, Drolls at 5, Mourners at 3, Ogres at 3. Very often you're just gonna go opening in draw phase for Alaba and it's gonna get Mournered. You're going to put up some bodies and you're gonna get Nibiru'd and pass on nothing because you don't have follow-up anymore, because you don't have those graveyard effects to flow into Quem and stuff like that. It just makes the deck feel bad to play. It makes it feel like it doesn't have follow-up or consistency that other decks have been allowed to keep. Other decks that were doing better than Branded was before this change. If they don't want meta decks from previous formats showing up and being super powerful, I get it. But if you're going to do that, just put cards to the point where I can't play them. If you want to give Branded Fusion the Habakiri treatment and put it to 100, do that. Please put down the other cards. I just want to play the engine. I just want to resolve these cards, and I really am struggling to do that with these current numbers. That being said, rant and ramble out of the way. I do have some ideas to talk about. I have some lists and theories that I've been working on, and we'll just have to see how we feel about them, right? These lists are my attempts at trying to revitalize or rework what Branded can kind of do to accommodate for the fact that it has less of these art cards in the extra deck now, and I think there is a slight silver lining. Branded is a deck with a very tight extra deck, very strict requirements of what you can run, and I think the silver lining with these changes is you can fit some more stuff in now. You can try out some more varied stuff because you just don't have that much to put in there. So let's look at the first list right now. Right, then this is a build that I'm actually really excited to play, and I'm really cooking with and trying to improve, and I really, really want to make this work. And that is, we're going to start with a Shaddoll Branded. So this list is mostly a standard sort of Branded core. We're playing the Fusion, which is using us a lot of points. I'm playing 3 Albion, 3 Alaba, 3 Albaz, 3 opening, 3 deployment. I'm pretty sure that ratio is in every single deck list I've made today. I think those are just mandatory. I've also got the 1 white, the 1 red, and the 1 retribution. Those are all in there. Numbers of cards like Tragedy can vary. Whether or not you play Ad Libitum can vary, but I think Ad Libitum's pretty good here. And I'm also adding on a Theatre here to synergize with this package, and we're playing this Shaddoll package. It's not a big package, you could maybe make it bigger if you want to play more Shaddolls, but those cost points, like Winder and Schism cost points, so we're just trying to play a build that doesn't right now. So 3 Fusion, a Dragon, a Beast, an Aerial, and 2 Constructs, any extra. So the reason 2 Constructs are in here is because, and this is a nice little synergy actually, Construct is a fairy, and so is Tragedy, and Dramaturge, and Aluba, and Adlib. And that's right, I snuck a Dramaturge in here, wanted an excuse to put it in one of these lists. You can go Draw Phase, as a Draw restriction, go High Spirits, Real Tragedy, send Construct, search an Aluba, and search a card that mentions Albaz, and that's a really strong opening play. And it doesn't play into draw, so you don't just die. And Construct is just one of the best fairy option for that already, but yeah, you can just play in Shaddoll, and it means even in the late game, you can fire that, and you could go, oh, Construct add back a fusion that maybe I had to pitch, or Lubellion to shuffle back the Construct for later, so I can then make it later with Shaddoll fusion. There's a few options here, and it makes the list, I think, a little more grindy, and it gives Branded a kind of out to stuff that it doesn't necessarily have here, because you do... One of the things is, you're playing 1 Mirror Jade, you do not want to lose out on that. You don't want to use up all your interaction. We have a very small number of Albaz Dragons in here. Our 2 targets for Mirror Jade, ideally, are Lenatus, because Lenatus can search Fusion Deployment, Branded Fusion, and Shaddoll Fusion, and we're playing Rinbrum, because it's just the next best one that's not pointed, and it's still pretty good just to make with Branded Fusion sometimes. And now this is a card I'm thinking about and experimenting with. It doesn't really have a good graveyard effect, but Dogmatic Calamity, Albaz System. This is how down bad we are for Albaz Dragons. We have Lubellion access now. In theory, Lubellion shuffle back your graveyard just to refuel. Could be playable, could be good. We'll just have to see. I'm very iffy on this card right now, but I think it is very interesting and worth experimenting with. The main thing we're just going for is that Shaddolls are just improved consistency, and they have been played as a board-breaking tool as recently as this year in advance, so they're not bad at that. Construct is a very strong card for board-breaking. We get to pull a macro, we get to potentially draw a card, or we can send the Aerial against graveyard-based strategies. I think it's really, really strong. And other than that, it's just a pretty standard branded call. We're playing a second Cartesia because we've made space for that, because we're not playing Dogma in this build, and therefore not playing the Ecclesia. So we save 13 points there, Rebellion and the Cartesia in this case. Filled up 2 slots with like staples, in this case just Crow. It can be anything. I just put that in there because it's a dark that we can use for, you know, a Despia fusion. Because I've added in the Proskenian to account for the fact that sometimes you might open Shaddolls and you want to just have a fusion you can make that's, if you've used your Queritus, it would be a Masquerade, but they don't want us to play that card. Moving on. This is another one that I'm particularly interested in making work, which is a Chimera build. So, I love Chimera. I think it's a really cool deck, a really interesting strategy. And it's kind of been really hampered in Genesys by Coatl being a 33 and Nightmare Apprentice being 33. It is now 20, but it's still too expensive really for this deck to be too consistent. So what do? We go back to what Branded was doing with Chimera on release, which is just playing a decent sized package and making some fusions. The main benefit of this is gone. We don't have Guardian Chimera, and that sucks. That is really, really unfortunate. But there's still some really interesting synergies here that I think are worth talking about. So in this list we've cut Jade, so we can play the Dogma package, partly because Dogma is a beast which can come up with stuff like the Graveyard effect of Chimera, which can banish yourself in the opponent's turn to bring back beast, so if they somehow kaiju it or something, we can just bring it back and it's still a Towers. It doesn't need to be fusion summoned to be a Towers. So, you know, you have a recursion in that case. Just bear in mind it's unaffected by all card effects, so you wouldn't be able to fuse it off if it's a Towers for your own stuff. And the reason as well that we're like fine with that Jade here is also we're playing double Rinbrum, because we want to be able to make this Rinbrum multiple times realistically. We can make it with Brand Fusion. This is a very classic play. We Brand Fusion, send the Gazelle and the Albaz, and that triggers the Gazelle, which gets us to Mirror Sword Knight, and then we can do Chimera plays off of that. And we just get a Rinbrum in addition to doing Chimera plays. And, you know, maybe the hand drip on Chimera isn't really worth it, and you can, you know, Rinbrum negate your own Chimera, bounce an opponent's monster. That kind of interaction is still there, if you're trying to board break. On top of that, we have an OTK line with the big Chimera. We can, you know, fuse off a couple of illusions, go for like 2 or 3 attacks, and, you know, maybe with Queridus you can preemptively set the monster to 0, so you get even more damage in, instead of just the 1 or 2 attacks from the Chimera when it's already reducing to 0. And the one last thing of note I would say in here is the Azamina Soul I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name, but he's very cool. He's a fusion that on someone sends any card on field to grave, and you just need a Fiend and an illusion. Just use Mirror Sword Knight or Tau, and there you go, you just get a send, and that's a pretty good interaction. It's not as good as Guardian Chimera, but it's something. And in addition to that, we're just playing 3 Santa Claus because it does Kaiju, that's not bad, and it's a Fiend, so we can use it for some of our fusions. We want to make sure we have access to Fiends and Beasts because they're kind of few and far between. I could see this list playing an additional kit to have an additional Beast in rotation, or maybe playing some additional illusion monsters to have more of those. Worth tinkering around with, but this is sort of like the basic engine here that you can work with. But yeah, this is another one I think could have potential to be pretty interesting. Next, this is a kind of potential man list, is we have Metal Morph branded. This is a very small package, but it's also kind of just, I think, the weakest. You can see I've filled in some more staples in this one. So, what are we doing here? So we're still playing the High Spirits line for Construct. I think it's still just good. You don't necessarily need to be on Shaddolls for that. But we are playing in here a mini Metal Morph package. It's a very simple one. It's very easy to get out. It basically requires you to just end on a dragon. You just need to end on a level 5 Iron Dragon. This was easier when we had access to Bestial Rebellion, which of course we can't play anymore. One of the ways to do this is the standard fusion line. We fusion for Albion, Albion for Rebellion, Rebellion make Mirror Jade, and we have the Albion on board that we contribute with the Metal Morph. If we contribute the Metal Morph, you can also make Star Source with like branded in white, or Secretarian, or Lenatus in theory. There's a number of ways to get a dragon just sitting on the board. You can kind of even get Albion the Shrouded out if you need to from Grave or something. That's all you need. Just get to a game state where you have a dragon on board, and if you can do that, you then make your Guinol and you send Lulu. Then Lilith will summon out Mirror Illusionist, and Mirror Illusionist is going to set Metal Morph from deck, and you have a dragon, so in your opponent's draw phase, you just flip up the Metal Morph, tribute the dragon you summoned, and you get out Full Metal, and Full Metal is then a spell trap protected Omni Negate. Pretty good. It does require you to open a decent hand, which is why I don't think this is going to be as good as the other one. It's kind of more ceiling rather than more consistency or board breaking power. Probably isn't going to be good enough compared to those other builds because you kind of need more consistency and board breaking power than ceiling right now, in my opinion. But I think it's a fun build that I really enjoy and it's worth trying out if you just want to try out something interesting and new with some of your extra deck space you now have. In addition to that, because we have this Synchro in the deck now, we're just playing Slayer in the main because, you know, maybe your opponent ends on a Synchro and you can just go send Lilith and then you don't need to do the whole Guinol line for it. Try it out, tell me what you think about it. Alright, so next up we have... People are going to tell me to try this out no matter what. We have fusionless branded builds. So this is your Scourge Earth option. Try and play the format how they want us to, I guess. So here's... Mostly ideas came from Nergod on Twitter. And, you know, we chat about branded from time to time. And so we looked at... And so it's basically a look at what can branded do if you just cut the fusion entirely. So we're saving 40 points here. We're saving 40 entire points on this list. So what do we get to play? We get to play Dogma and Mirror Jade in the same list. We get to play Rebellion, Titaniclad, Fallen and the Virtuous, and Mercury. One copy of our new spell, one Titaniclad, and one Dogma. Basically got added to this. and we had to cut the best spell on the deck. So this is a build that revolves kind of around the Radiant Typhoon Visions, because we're playing a lot of quick play spells, so kind of just more draw power, trying to see more pieces for fusion summons and stuff, because without fusion you don't have that big impactful play, so you need to get to your Cartesia and stuff. There is some stuff you could finicky around with this. You can cut the Mercuria maybe for a second Cartesia. That might be the correct thing to do, honestly. There actually should be a branded theater in this list. I forgot to put that in. So just bear that in mind. That should be in here just to guarantee you get diffuse. And then it's just kind of a couple staple slots. And yeah, just a decent extra deck. It's really... You're kind of just playing the game assuming branded fusion got ashed, as if you were playing in TCG. And if you think about it that way, it still sounds pretty bad, I'm gonna be honest, but I think it's worth looking at, and I'm probably not gonna play this build very much, but it's there if you want to give it a go. Finally, we have a build that has been getting passed around a lot, actually. Now, this is one I haven't had a chance to play because I don't own these cards in paper, but it is one that I will probably get around to as soon as I can pick them up, which is Dracotail branded, and this is another one that plays fusion, but there is theory ways of cutting fusion. Again, I think you just do a similar manner to the previous list, and you can kind of just build this in that way. So this is very similar to the Shaddoll build, I think. Instead of fusion and 2 names, fusion and 3 names, you're playing 3 Rahu, 2 names and 2 traps, and playing 2 Gulamel. It's very, very similar. It's a very, very similar sort of build. I'm not too familiar with Dracotail lines and how the intricate synergies are here, so feel free to let me know in the comments or get angrily at me on Twitter about it. Instead of, you know, getting immediate interaction with Shaddolls, you're getting these trap cards, and the trap cards in Dracotail are very powerful, don't get me wrong. These cards don't even require you to have Dracotails in rotation. They're just interactions if you draw them. These are not dead draws. So I absolutely get playing them. And yeah, when I pick up these cards eventually, I'll definitely try it out. So if you do, let me know how it went for you, and yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got Dracotail cards in it. This might just end up being the best build because Dracotail cards are just that good, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, I think this is very similar to the Shaddoll build, but it kind of excels more at going first than going second. Up to you if you prioritize that based on metagame at your locals. I think on average, Dracotail probably might just be better, but I have the Shaddoll cards to hand, so I'm going to have more chance to practice and try those out. So there you go. 5 potential ways to play branded with the new points list. Are they good? I'm not sure. Will this deck still top events? I hope so. I'm not too optimistic, but I hope it does. You know, I think someone will figure it out, but it was really disappointing seeing such a big hit to my favorite deck, really. I just hope that they give this another look. Like, Genesys devs, I know that you watch content on this format. I know that you look through Twitter and everything. You will probably see this video at some point. So I'm talking directly to you now. Please revisit these points. And please tell us what you want the state of branded to be. Because that's what I think's so frustrating about this list. I was talking. That's what I think's so frustrating about this list, is we don't know what you want this to do to the deck. When you make more changes to one deck that just got a new product than anything else, and you don't actually tell us why, it makes it feel like you don't want new players that just picked up a brand new structure deck to play in this more casual format that lends itself more to new players. Why these are the numbers for this deck? Why all these fusions needed to be hit? If you don't want us to play a full branded extra deck, if you want us to only have a couple of targets for Mirror Jade and stuff, fine. Please just tell us that's what you're doing. The way it looks is that you were so concerned about the power level of one generic spell that you hit almost every target for it to guarantee that no one plays it. And at that point, just put Fallen and Virtuous to 30 or something. No one's considering it if it's going to cost them 25 points for one copy in anything other than Branded. And if you're concerned that Branded can play 25 points for a Foolish, just hit Fusion to 60 or something. Like, I don't think these points need to be the way they are. But fundamentally, my problem was this was a massive list that just didn't explain why the decisions were made. Hi, editing Samantha Skarlon from the YouTube channel here. While I was about to hit publish on this video, Konami put out a new blog post explaining the changes to the point list. So, let's address the things I talked about regarding that in the video. They did not explain the beard. I think it's the most impactful change in the entire list, and they just didn't explain it. So please, can you do that at some point? That point still stands. And secondly, they talk about the Branded extra deck. Their logic is, and I'll put it up here, that they needed to hit both the Fallen and the Virtuous. They needed to both hit the Fallen and the Virtuous and the targets for it. This is just completely overboard. That's all I have to say. 25 points to run one copy of this while Nib is at 5 and Droplet is at 10. It's way overcosted. No one is playing this card at 25 points minimum to run it. And if they are, it's costing them so much that it's just like way overboard for the restriction. This does not need to cost this much. If you didn't want people to play this, if you want its default cost to be 25, just cost the card at 20 or something. There's no reason to punish Branded for generic use of one card. It's just way overboard, way overblown. And the response of, we're seeing people build Branded differently, just figure it out, feels kind of tone deaf. The unhits to Mirror Jade and Lubellion were not enough. The deck, yes, still looks like Branded. It is not the same feeling, and it is not the same gameplay. There is a fundamental aspect of the deck that is gone. Just the number of monsters in the extra was important. The number of Albaz Dragons that you had access to is a fundamental part of the deck, and you can't just price them all out and go, just play it slightly differently. It just doesn't work like that. Thanks for watching this Halloween video, I suppose. Dug out the old Alibi cosplay for this one. And yeah, regular content returning soon, as I always say. Just a quick reminder, by the way, in the middle of November, I'm going to be running another Future Visions tournament, and this one is interesting because we're going to be playing Tengu format instead of Edison. So if you really wanted to mess around with some broken cards and decks that weren't available in Edison format, hop into the Discord. You got 2 weeks to build up and plan out a deck to take on that tournament, so click the link, head into my server, and let's play some Tengu Future Vision. Oh, and please subscribe. Those 40 points for Branded Fusion don't pay for themselves. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.